The single difference between someone who succeeds and someone who fails with selling on Amazon is not knowing how to distinguish a winning product from a losing product. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 winning products and 3 losing products. And I'm going to explain why each one is a winning product and why each one is a losing product. That way, when you are finding products on your own, you'll be able to distinguish the difference. Keep in mind, guys, these are the exact strategies that I've used to sell over 7 figures every single year on Amazon. As always, guys, if you got value, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and let's get into it.
All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to dive into 3 winning products and 3 losing products. Now I'm going to explain why each product is a winning product and why each product is a losing product, giving you complete breakdowns on all 6 of these products I'm about to show you. So our first 3, we have 3 winners. Now these are products that have done extremely well for me in the past. Now I have this Mudwater listing right here. So this was back in like 2023, 2024. A lot of these listings are a little outdated, guys, just so you know. But I wanted to show you what they looked like when they were winners, so you can go ahead and replicate that own success on your own with current to-date products. So we have this one right here. It was selling for $55, and you could buy it for $30 on Mudwater's website. So all said and done, you made around $960 per unit. So imagine selling hundreds of units of these. That's how you can make the big bucks. Thousands of times, or sold thousands of times per month, as you can see from the data. So the reason why this is a good product, to give you guys a breakdown, very stable keep-it chart. As you can see right here, the price is historically staying around that $55 to $60 range throughout the time that this was selling really well. It's selling over 1,000 times a month every single month. Now, you want to look for at least 50 sales a month. Obviously, the more the merrier, but this is selling very, very well if it's selling 1,000 times a month. Also, the third thing I noticed is a very stable seller count. So this blue line is the offer count, which is the amount of sellers on the listing. It doesn't ever go above like 20 or so. So it's very stable across the entire time horizon. It never shoots up like some of these products that I'm going to show you in a couple minutes. So all in all, this was a great keep it chart, and it definitely makes the list on one of my top winners of these 3. So now on to the next one. This is another great product as well. You can see here that this was historically selling for anywhere from $30 to about $33. I believe you can buy this on Native's website for about like $12 to $15 or so. And you would be making a lot of money if you're buying it for that much. If you bought it for 12, sold it for 33, you'd be making about $8 profit a unit. And this listing also sold really well back in the day. As you can see, it was selling around 1,000 times a month or so, as the yellow line indicates, upwards of 2,000. And you can see it's a pretty solid amount of sellers. It did start to get a lot higher over here. And then after that, people kind of caught on. And you'll notice this with products, they kind of have like a life cycle in a sense. So the more that life cycle goes on, the more the sellers find it, and then it's going to become a little saturated over time. But you always have like a solid 6 to 12 months at least, before anything like that happens if you're getting on good products. So this is another great, you can see the same example, very stable chart. It doesn't really fluctuate like crazy on the price up here. And then also that sales rank right here is pretty stable, and it's a very, very good sales rank, as you can see, selling around 1,000 times a month. And then also on the bottom, the seller count, again, pretty solid. It just kind of got a little high over here. And you can see as that offer count goes up, that price starts to go down. So you can see the correlation there. You always want to pay attention to that. I'm going to show you in the products to avoid. You're going to really see what I mean by that. But yeah, all in all, very similar to the first one, an amazing product. We sold a bunch of these, and it did very well for us. Now onto the third product, High Smile. So this was another solid product as well. As you can see, kind of across when the sellers started to rise, you can see that the price started to fall here. Now, this was a good product in the beginning. A couple months later, it did start to get a little saturated, and that price did start to fall. I think you bought this for about $660 on High Smile's website, and then sold it for upwards of $22, $23. So it was an amazing product, sold very well for us, and it made us a bunch of money. So yeah, but then what you can see here is that very similar story to the other ones. The only difference here is that this was found a little bit quicker. Maybe it went on a weeds list or something like that. But yeah, all in all, very stable price, very stable sales rank. As you can see, it's not really changing much. And then that seller count, this one was a little bit high, unfortunately, and that's what's the price starting to fall. So this was another great example. So those were 3 examples of products that made us a pretty good chunk of change. And those are the types of products that you can start to replicate and look for in 2025. Now I'm going to show you 3 products that are not so good that you're going to want to avoid. I'm going to explain those reasons why. So we have this first one here. Now you can see how it has a similar situation with other leads. Like it's decently stable in price. Maybe it does fluctuate a little bit. Has a decent sales rank as well. You know, it's selling a lot of times per month, as you can see with the yellow line. But there's one fatal mistake that you can make that could literally lead you to get your account, you know, shut down potentially by Amazon or just get deactivated. We don't want that. So we want you to avoid those common pitfalls. This is one of the first one. It's called an IP complaint. Now, this is when a brand doesn't want you to sell their product and they are going to submit a complaint into Amazon saying, hey, we don't want this seller XYZ to sell our products on Amazon. Now, this rarely ever happens. It happens, you know, maybe 1 out of 100 times. But in order to avoid it, you want to understand this. So as you can see right here, that seller count goes up, up, up. All of a sudden, it goes down to 1. As you can see, it goes from 18 to 1 in literally all within the same time period. You can see same day, same time, it goes from 18 to 1. What that means is that this brand submitted the complaints against the sellers at that point in time, and then it kicked them off the listing. It basically said, hey, you can't sell it anymore. It went to inactive. So same thing happened here. It went from 13 to 4. That is also a potential IP complaint. So you want to avoid these listings like the plague, and it almost looks like, it kind of looks like an elevator drop, like a free fall ride down straight to the bottom. That is what an IP complaint looks like. So that is one of the number 1 things to avoid, and this listing is a textbook one. Now we're going to go to the second one here. So this is a rising offer count scenario. So when you can see that the seller count here on that blue line is rising and that price starts to fall. So that is a huge thing to avoid. This will just cost you money and potential profits because you'll be selling a product at a way lower price than what you could have if you just, you know, look for listings that didn't look like this, or if you saw a listing like this, you avoided it. So you can see before it happened at a pretty good stable price, and then all of a sudden it happened, the price went down. And even that seller count or that sales rank was pretty stable as well. It did start to drop because the price started to drop. Usually when the price falls, the sales rank will fall in corresponding. So yeah, this is one of the biggest things to avoid because it will just lead to your business not really making much profit. At the end of the day, we all want to make money, so that's the goal. And you need to avoid listings like this where that seller count is going up and that price is going down. So textbook scenario of something like that happening. And what probably happened in this scenario was this listing probably went on sale on like a major website, maybe like Sephora or something like that. And then a bunch of sellers found it, and then the price started to go down as the sellers came up. So if you see like mass deals on like a big website like Sephora, you know, chances are a lot of other sellers are seeing it as well, and it can lead to situations like this. So now onto the third product and why you want to avoid it. So the reason we passed on this product was because it had a very high sales rank. As you can see, you know, even in clothing, shoes, and jewelry, at this rank, it's very high. It's probably only selling like 20 times a month or so. And you can see there's huge gaps here. And what this means right here, if there's no drop in the sales rank, like where it's going down and it's going all the way up, that means that it wasn't selling for a couple of days. So you can see it goes up, 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 and then it started to sell here. So it's very inconsistent with sales. It's not really selling a lot. And also you can see that offer count started to go up and that price started to fall. Especially happens when something is very slow moving because a lot of sellers are trying to just get rid of it and move on. So they'll start to drop the price to see if that starts to lead to more sales. So that is another textbook example. And you can obviously see here, it's 215, the price keeps falling, and it's not really selling much. And that amount of sellers right here is way too much to support a listing that's only really selling 10, 20 times a month. You know, 10 sellers, not everybody wants to get one sale. So this is something that I would definitely avoid. Slow moving listings, rising offer counts, IP complaint potential. You want to avoid these listings like the plague. And these are one of the biggest things I see that leads to sellers struggle is because they're looking at listings like this and it leads to either their account getting a complaint or them just buying bad products. So you want to make sure you're doing this analysis when you're sourcing and focus on those first 3 products that I showed you. Those are the products that you want to look for. So I hope this helped, guys. I hope you got a ton of value from this video, learned a thing or two about what a winning product looks like, what a losing product looks like. As always, guys, if you got value, definitely go ahead and hit that